What's going on, everybody? It is your boy Chris, man. We are here at the Work Hard, Play Harder podcast. It is Tuesday, September 17th, 2024. My name is Chris Drummond. I am a freelance sports reporter based out of Minnesota here. And I am proprietor of this podcast, Work Hard, Play Harder, where I bring individuals on to talk about their why of why they get into the industry and also who they are outside of their occupation. I got a special guest that's coming on with me today. She is based out of Texas, working as a deputy editor at My SA, which stands for San Antonio. She was also a social media editor for that same company, My SA, and she's been a producer at a couple of different stations based out of Austin and based out of San Antonio. Her name is Candice Avila Garcia. And we're going to talk to her about her why, get to know her a little bit, and ask her some fun questions. So without any further ado, I introduce to you the talented Candice. Hello there, Candice. How you doing?
I'm well. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I just want to say thank you for hopping on my podcast, Work Hard, Play Harder, and want to ask you how your week's going so far.
It would have been a lot better if Cowboys won game two. I'll say that.
Ooh, that was a rough one for the Cowboys this past week. No question about that one.
Yeah.
Okay, I feel you on that.
Maybe next week. Maybe next week we'll do it again,
You know what? I'm hoping. I'm not sure who the Cowboys play, but they definitely got to have a bounce back game for sure. No question after that one. Let me reiterate to you why I wanted to have you on here before I start peppering you with all these questions. So
Awesome.
I know that you work for My SA, which is, I'm thinking SA stands for San Antonio. That's just going on a limb. And you're a deputy editor there, but you was also a social media editor there too. For a few years. You also been a producer for a couple of different stations in Austin and in San Antonio as well. So you've been in the journalism field working in various positions for quite some time. I'm obviously a freelance sports reporter. I also worked in print journalism for about 24 months, but I also worked in Atlanta, Georgia in print journalism as well. So this is going in my 6th year of doing journalism. So for me, I love talking to people and getting to know them about their stories, who they are, their background, and how they came into the industry, because everybody's unique of how they come into this industry and their why. So that's why I wanted to reach out to you.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Oh, no question, no question. And you know what, Candice, as I always do, I start off my conversations, as I like to call them, with the same question. What is your why? What is your why of coming into the journalism field? Did you have any inspirations growing up? Did you have any role models? Talk about growing up and why you decided to join the journalism field.
Yeah, so I actually love being a writer. I used to write like little short imaginative stories when I was little, and that's kind of where it stemmed from. I would create birthday cards for my dad that I would just, be super creative with, write like little phrases. And again, I'm like 5, 6 years old, so it's like I'm very young. And I just like that's where I kind of like found my passion, which was really writing. And and then in school I loved writing essays. Like whenever a teacher would assign an essay, I was like, yes, like I'm like, this is my assignment. And so I always enjoyed that, because I think it just writing is just such a beautiful like avenue that you can just be so creative. You can, you tell stories, and that was mainly my one thing that I wanted to do as I grew up. And I wanted to, tell stories, but I wanted to tell stories from people. And, I figured what better way to do it than being a journalist. And so I also grew up watching local television. I grew up very low income. So all we had was like the antenna, which is local channels.
I
And
know
so,
that.
watching that, I was very like, I knew exactly when weather would pop on. So that's kind of like why I became a TV producer, because TV producing is all about timing. And
Absolutely.
so like I just grew up watching it. And I grew up watching, local anchors, reporters, and just seeing this type of storytelling that they wanted, they told. And that's something that I wanted to do, when I grew up. But I think what's unique about like growing up, because I grew up like in the 90s watching 90s type of news and then the early
Yep.
2000s. But seeing how the industry has evolved
Right.
is really interesting to me, especially the way that we tell our stories and what type of stories really resonate with folks. Because it's funny, a lot of times we'll write pieces on like, things you didn't see again in the 80s and 90s if you grew up in San Antonio. And those hit with our audience because like it's that nostalgia. It's like going back and remembering what San Antonio was like. And especially when stores closed down and like, Mervin's was a big store in San Antonio where everyone did their, back to school shopping and Mervin's isn't
Right.
anymore. But it's cool to like think about it and take you back to that time. And especially as you grew up in San Antonio, it's like it takes you back to your childhood, like a time of innocence where, you didn't have to worry about bills and things like that as an adult. And
Those were the
so,
days, Candice. Those
right?
were the days.
Yes, exactly. And so,
Right.
again, just kind of going back to the storytelling of it all, I think that's what really is my why. Again, I wanted to just tell stories, whether it's personal experiences, other folks' experiences as well, and also helping others too. When I joined the industry, when I was in college, I interned at a local station and I was part of their investigative team because I wanted to do investigative journalism. I like to do the data. I like to,
Oh
hold
yeah.
people accountable. I mean, that's what journalism is all about.
Indeed.
And I was able to go undercover for some stories. Like it was a really fun experience and it taught me a lot. It taught me also a lot of resiliency. That's something that you have to have in the news industry
Yeah.
because you're gonna hear feedback. You're gonna hear and it's not always great feedback. And so, but it's constructive criticism in ways that you can grow as a reporter, as you can grow as a journalist. It's there to help you. And that's something that I've always like really welcomed in my career is I always welcome feedback because even now in a management position, I'm still learning. We're always constantly learning. And that's one thing that folks who want to be in this industry have to also realize that you're never like not necessarily fulfilled, but like you're never like you never capped basically because
Right.
it's like there's more to learn. There's ways to stay innovative, and you just have to like keep going and try new things, and not don't be afraid to take risks because that's what this whole industry is about is evolving, changing. And again, we've seen it back when how news was back in the 90s and the early 2000s and how it is today. It's taking more of a digital approach, and so that's just something that again we have to keep up with like the involvement of the industry and all that good stuff.
Absolutely. No, no, that's incredible. I love that. Let's talk about your college choice. Now, you're the first person that I've had on this platform that has went to this university, the University of the Incarnate Word. Am I
Yes.
saying that right?
Yeah. Yeah. Incarnate word.
Okay. Let's talk about that because I want to know, was that your first choice, or were there any other schools that was on the radar for you going instead of going to there?
Yeah. So I actually went there because when I was younger, again, 5 years old, I guess a milestone for me, apparently. But when I was 5 years old, they have like this, it's like a Christmas type of display they do every year, and it's called Light the Way. And
Okay.
I remember at 5 years old, my cousin took me because she went to the high school that's associated with the university.
Okay.
And we went there, and I was like, at 5 years old, I'm like, I want to go here for my college. Like, this is where I want to be.
Wow.
And it was just
Okay.
like and I'm a Virgo, so like things stick with me, and like I am like stubborn, and like I will refuse to do anything else when something
Sure.
I have an idea in my head. And so that was my first choice. That's where I wanted to go. I knew I wanted to go no matter what. And again, growing up low income, it's a private university, so it's like there's obstacles where it's like, okay, I gotta take out student loans. Like I
Right.
had scholarships, I had grants, I had financial aid available, but I also had to take out loans as a private university.
Sure.
Which
Sure.
I'm like, man, I should have thought about that when I was 5 years old, which you probably don't think about at 5 years old, right?
Right, right. Maybe Fisher Price is on your mind at that time. Maybe some cartoons, not loans so much. But go ahead, go ahead. I'm sorry, I digress.
But yeah, when I went to high school, I was the top 10% of my class. So I could have gone to any type of public university within Texas, um, with that criteria. And so, but I was like, nope, I'm headstrong on going to Incarnate Word, and that's where I'm gonna go. So, Do I regret it? No. I don't think any of our life choices we regret. I think there are lessons learned. And I
Sure.
feel like, being there, I learned so much, and I also networked with so many people, and that's like a huge, like, valuable asset to have in this career is the networking and who you meet, and like, because you never know who they're gonna come along, or who's gonna come along 10 years from
Absolutely.
now.
Right.
And they might be someone that you need a connection with, or they're a source down the line, like things like that. So, anyone listening that's like undecided about where to go for college, or like, I really, this is my first choice, but like, I got rejected, or, whatever the case may be. I think it's more about like, one, make the best of it, whatever choice you make, as far as university goes, or the college, if it's community college, you want to do the 2+2 year, 2+2
Right.
plan,
Right.
totally, whatever works for you. And so, but yeah, again, make the best of it, and network, network, network. Like, I cannot stress that enough. Because I think it's not only the communications degree, which I got my degree in, but it's also just like any type of other degree. Again, you never know who these people are going to be along the down the line, and what impact they could have in your life. So,
Absolutely. I think as you get older, you kind of realize it's not about where you go, but it's about what you get out of where you go.
right.
If that even makes a little sense for me, for people that what you're talking about, and for people that would eventually watch this episode. I went to Kennesaw State University, and it's not like one of those known schools as a University of Texas or a University of Georgia, but it was in Georgia. It was in Kennesaw, Georgia, and I got great experience out of that and was able
Yeah.
to get a full-time job out of that. Also networking with a lot of people that was in that town, and being able to move up to Minnesota to get my first full-time job, and eventually go into a freelance, and eventually I'll make my way to another city and state,
Right.
being able to do what I love to do. So I love the fact that you went there and you just made the most of it. A lot of people looking like, man, I want to go to a big time school. That's great. But I
Yeah.
think any school that you go to, if you make the best of what you are there with, because a lot of people don't have the opportunity, like you said, financially is where it stops a lot of stuff,
Right.
especially with journalists. Syracuse, Northwestern, Missouri, all those three schools in particular, which there's other schools as well, but those three are private. So they're going to
Mhm.
cost a lot of money. So if you don't live in those particular towns, it's going to cost you a lot of money
Right.
to go. So you definitely have to make do with what you have. How special is it, Candice, for you to be pretty much working in the same kind of city and town that you are as a journalist?
It's such a privilege. I mean, it's literally a dream. It's funny because, again, when I started my career, or even just when I thought about like what I wanted to do when I grew up, not only was a writer, but I wanted to be an anchor, I wanted to be a reporter, I wanted to be on air. And being able to be behind the scenes gave me a different perspective of the industry. And it's like it was such a blessing, because again, I'm able to tell the stories that are happening within my city that I grew up in, things that I witnessed when I was a kid that are very nostalgic to folks. And also it helps to know, because like, our readers are all San Antonians. So it's like they're knowing the city and knowing what stories, that if I enjoy reading them, I'm sure the other readers will enjoy reading them because they're from San Antonio.
Right.
Um, and so it is such a blessing, and such a, like I said, it's such a reward to be able to be a San Antonio native, work in the city, tell the stories of the people around me. One thing that's very unique in San Antonio is we have this saying, is like, when you run into somebody, the first question you ask is like, if they're from San Antonio, you're like, what high school did you go to? Like, that is such like a San Antonio saying.
Mm.
And it's interesting because like there's like, if for instance, if the school is like on the north side of San Antonio, and then you
Hmm.
have like the west side of San Antonio, you're like, oh, you went to the north side school, then you have the money. Like, it was like
Oh,
that.
okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
and it's like not like, and there's no animosity. It's just like the fact that like this, like, your high school kind of like details like who you are. It's like
Right.
the
Your
wow
territory.
city.
Where
Yeah.
you at? Got you. Got you. That's what's
Yeah.
up. I like that. Now, I'm planning on actually coming to San Antonio in November. As you know, I'm a sports journalist, so I'm a huge sports
Yeah.
fan. And the Spurs are playing my favorite team, which is the Lakers.
Oh,
And
nice.
I grew up in California, San Diego to be exact. So I'm definitely coming out there for like a weekend. So if I do come I'm planning on it. Let me just say this. I'm planning on it out there. But if I solidify it, I definitely will have to hit you up and we'll have to see what we can do.
Yeah, I mean, I can recommend some great breakfast tacos in San Antonio. So you got,
Absolutely. I
yeah.
appreciate that. I
I'll give you,
appreciate
I'll
that.
give you a solid list there.
That sounds good. Now let's get into some of the favorite things of yours. I would like to ask you some favorite questions. You just give me the 411 of what your favorite things are. Okay, so here we go.
Awesome.
Favorite meal you like to cook?
So I'm not really much of a cooker. I'm more of a reheater. Like I'll put things in the microwave that are frozen. And I do love Trader Joe's. So any type of like frozen Trader Joe's meals I can do, like absolutely. One of my favorite from Trader Joe's though is it's like a pad thai like type of chicken. So delicious. And it's like super inexpensive. It's like I think like $5. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's like perfect. Just have that with like a little glass of wine, white wine specifically. And that's perfect. But yeah, I don't not much of a cook. I mean, I will like I'll use the air fryer. I do cook bean and cheese tacos though. I can just just reheat up some beans in the pan
Mm,
and throw
okay,
some cheese
okay,
and some heat up the tortillas and yeah. So I make some mean bean and cheese tacos.
okay,
As far as
okay.
like making like homemade type of meals, yeah, that's a hard no for me.
I feel that. Now, listen, you're a journalist, so I definitely respect it. I work nights and weekends, so it's very hard for me to always whip something up myself. I'm a taco person. Tacos are very quick, they're very fast. You can do that. I'm a chicken person, so chicken definitely can whip that up fast too. So chicken, tacos, stuff like that, and spaghetti too. Anything with like
Oh, spaghetti, yeah.
beef or like turkey, I'm with that. Okay, that's cool. Favorite concert you've ever attended?
Oof. So I mean, it wasn't a really I mean, it kind of was a concert. I don't know. I'm a Swiftie, so it was the Taylor Swift Eras tour, but like the movie version, because like your girl doesn't make the $2,000 type of ticket pay. So
Okay, so
it's
you went
like,
to the theaters and you watched the concert.
right.
Okay, okay, okay. I like you. Now, which Taylor Swift album is your favorite?
Oh, okay. I am a Reputation girl. So I've been waiting, like I'm waiting for the Reputation, like Taylor's version to come out. It's supposed to like they're hinting like maybe like they were like maybe it was like last week. And like it's so funny because the Swifties are like little private investigators. They just like will like make all these clues and be like, oh, this is Taylor had a black dress, so that means Reputation's gonna be out next week. And it's like it's so fascinating to like hear how the little conspiracy theories are, but like I'm here for it. And I'm literally waiting for Reputation to drop because like I will like spend the whole like when the Taylor the Tortured Poets album dropped,
Yeah,
like I literally was hearing it all day at work and I'm like and I'm married, like I've been married for 7 years and I'm happily married, but like her songs are more focused on like, heartbreak and all that stuff. So I was just like, I know I'm in a happy marriage, but like these songs are hitting. Like
okay,
I'm like,
okay.
can I just like
That's cool.
make an argument with my husband just so I can feel this music? Like
I totally feel that. I totally feel that. There is a lot of people that have been on this platform of mine that are Swifties. I'm not a huge Swifty, but at the same time, I did like her 1989 album. I did
yes.
like that. That was pretty good. So no question about that. Okay. Favorite place you ever traveled to?
Oh, actually, interesting enough, I actually just got back from a trip to New York City. I went there for it was a business trip and everything, but I'd never been. It was my first time to New York City and I loved it. I thought it was great. Very fast paced for me, so I probably wouldn't live there. But great to visit. The bagels are phenomenal. Can't have like there's nothing compared to like New York bagels and New York pizza. Like it's just it hits different. Um
You right about that. No
But I did
question
my
on that.
favorite part of the trip though was I saw a New York pigeon. Like New York pigeons are different. Like they're a different breed. I don't know if you
Mm,
see like, a pigeon where you live, but like if you ever see a New York pigeon, I don't know if you ever see like the show Animaniacs, but
yes.
like so like the good feathers, like that's
Yes.
literally the pigeon that I saw in New York. Like
Wow.
they don't
Okay.
care. They just like living their life and they're like huge. Like these pigeons are like freaking hens. Like
You took me back to my child days, girl, with the Animaniacs. That's for sure.
love it.
That's for
See,
sure.
nostalgia. I'm telling you, it works.
It is, no doubt, no question. Okay. Favorite sport you like to watch on TV? Favorite sport you like to attend in person? It could be the same sport.
Definitely football. Yeah, love football. I mean, there's just something nostalgic about football, whether it's like high school football, NFL football, college football. I was a cheerleader in high school, and so I'm just like, I love this time of year. Like, there's just like when I see the buses like on a Friday night, I'm like, oh, I know you were at the football game. Like, it just brings back like all these
Mm,
like memories. One thing about San Antonio, again, because we're so high school like centered, is that we actually stream a lot of our high school football games. So you're able to watch, the football games from the comfort of your home and just like, again, bring back that nostalgia of like, I remember, I'm busting out my Letterman, like, like I'm
absolutely.
there type of thing.
Yes, indeed.
But
I know what you're talking about. That's what's up. I mean, high school football in Texas is everything.
yes,
Uh,
oh, absolutely.
Anybody that's a sport person knows that.
Yeah,
That's for sure.
yeah.
So you didn't want to ride with the Houston Texans? You a Dallas Cowboy fan?
I am. I grew up like my brother was a Cowboys fan, my dad was a Cowboys fan, my mom's entire family was a Cowboys fan. So I've just grown up with it. I grew up around the era with like Tom Landry when he was coach. So that was like what I grew up with. When Troy Aikman was on there, Emmitt Smith,
Michael Irvin?
yeah.
Yep.
So I
Yep.
was like in that era. And then Tony Romo came along and then Dak now. But yeah, I mean, there's just again, there's something about Dallas Cowboys in San Antonio for some reason. Like we're not like San Antonio really isn't a big like Houston Texans city, but we're Dallas Cowboys city. So it's ironic because there's always this talk of like, is San Antonio gonna get an NFL team one day? And it's kind of like I don't feel like Jerry Jones would allow that. I feel like he'd be
No.
like, nah, like we're not doing that. Like San Antonio's Cowboys Nation. Like that's it.
The one team in that town is the Spurs, and everybody loves the Spurs in
Yeah.
that town. I think that with Wemby coming on board, I think he's
Yes.
going to just flood the town with a lot of fans going to the game. So yeah, that's my opinion. That's what I think for sure. Last of the favorites. Favorite place you like to eat at? And once again, when I come there, I need some great recommendations because I'm a foodie. I love the food, so that's for sure.
Okay. Well, this is gonna kind of surprise you. Taco Bell. I just I love Taco Bell. Like it is like whenever I get comfort food, whenever I'm feeling sad or anything, I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna get Taco Bell. I'm gonna get me, like the gordita crunch. Cheesy potatoes. Don't sleep on those cheesy potatoes. Like cheesy potatoes with like extra chipotle ranch or spicy chipotle sauce. So good. Like
I knew it. I
so
knew it,
good.
Candy. When I first saw you, I knew she liked some hot ass food. That's what I was thinking in my mind. She definitely like a little spice in her food. I love Taco Bell too. Don't get me wrong. I'm a huge Nacho Bell Grande person. Please give me the Nacho Bell Grande. Maybe a Baja Blast. And then I'm good to go. I'm good to go with that. So I just didn't expect Taco Bell to come come out your mouth, but that's amazing. I love that. I love that. I will look out for a Taco Bell while I'm there, though. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, I like that. Let's talk about your day to day. Now, you being deputy editor, obviously you probably do editing, writing, all of the sorts, right? Talk to me about what is a typical day for Candice when she wakes up in the morning, because this is an online, if I'm not mistaken,
Right.
online kind of publication here. So I don't know if you have an office to go to. I don't know if you work from home.
Yeah.
Talk to me about what your day to day is, because we also know journalism is not really a business like hours type of job. Sometimes it can go long hours. Sometimes it can go like awkward kind of time. So tell me what you do on your day to day.
Yeah, so I am an early riser. I am a huge morning person, and this actually stemmed from when I was working in TV, where I was actually producing the morning newscast. So, back then I would have to go in like at 11 o'clock at night, and then I get out at 7 in the morning. So I'm
Right.
just like wired, differently. And so
Yeah.
now I wake up, my alarm goes off at 4 a.m. I'm in the office by 7 or by 6:30. My shift starts at 7. Um, but I live like about 30 minutes from the office. And so I just like to take my time driving in, like drinking my coffee. And so I'll get to the office and my job as deputy editor is to make sure that the morning kind of starts out, strong and everything, making sure we have strong stories. So I'll kind of do like a check-in with my reporter as to like what stories they're going to cover for that first hour of the day from like 7 to 8.
Hmm.
work on that, and then from like around 8 o'clock, like my reporters will start sending in pitches, what stories they want to work on for the day. I'll look through them, approve them, and then we'll kind of meet around 8:30 to talk about like all the pitches that everyone's going to be working on, deadlines, things like that. And then
Absolutely.
throughout the day, I'm just like, editing stories. Sometimes I'll write stories. Specifically, I write about local TV anchors, which is like I love. It's kind of like the TV cheeseman that I call it.
Okay.
But
Okay.
yeah, so it's not really gossip. It's all factual, and I reach out to sources and all that stuff. But I just kind of like it's
Sure.
just like the San Antonio saying of like the whole cheese man of it. But yeah, so like again, I'll be writing. I'll be in meetings during the day too. Whether it's like a manager's meeting or like a meeting with my reporter, kind of like a one-on-one. And so it's just kind of like every day is different, which I love about it. I mean, that's why I got into the business as well. Because
Yep.
I don't want to sit at a desk, just like typing away. I just want to like be trying new things, and I want to like again with breaking news happens like that's the adrenaline of it all, and I just really enjoy that. Like I love breaking news. I love the urgency behind it. I love the adrenaline that it brings. So yeah, like anytime like breaking news happens, I'll make sure like, our team's on it. If there's any type of like alerts we need to send out on it, I'll make sure, producers are working on that as well. And yeah, so again, it's every day is kind of different. But that's kind of like my morning is usually kind of pretty routine.
Okay.
More
Okay.
so the afternoon where things can kind of get crazy, again, with breaking news, if there's crazy weather, crazy traffic, things like that. So yeah, it's just like, again, very different. And we are remote, we're hybrid. So like we work 3 days in the office, 2 days at home, which is a really nice balance. Like I'm one to like, I mean, obviously I was part of the whole, in office 5 days a week before the pandemic. And then when we
Sure.
were all
Sure.
remote after that, it was like I miss being in office. I miss being around people. I love talking to people. I'm a social butterfly sometimes when I want to be. And so so just being around other people, and just like feeding off their energy. Like I'm really big on like if someone has like really big energy and positive energy, like we can feed off of them.
Absolutely. Yes.
And so that's something I really enjoyed about being in the newsroom again. So I think we're really fortunate to have, again, 3 days in the office, 2 days at home, because it's a good balance. Like you still have your work from home time, but also you get to be in the office and you get to be around coworkers, and it's just like again that office culture that that it's exciting to be part of. Again, when you have that positive energy around you, it's like it's infectious.
Absolutely. No question about that. And I love that answer, Candice. Now, obviously, you have the face to be in front of the TV. Absolute question about it. And I always ask producers this. Is that something of a desire that you ever like want to do in the future? Do you want to be in front of the TV, or are you just comfortable doing what you're doing?
Yeah, I mean, if the opportunity presents itself, why not?
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like one of those things where I'm really one to roll with the punches. So again, if let's say 10 years from now, the industry is like, you know what, we're gonna make digital like all like video now, and it's like we all have to be on cam. I'll do it. Like again, I'm very like roll with the punches. Let's try new things. Let's take risks. Because I feel like the risks like there are challenges that we can like challenge ourselves with, and there are ways that like
Yep.
we like it's so exciting to come out of a challenge and like become like how are you out of a challenge? Like are you better, or does it make you like question like where you want to be? Like there's things about challenges that like help us grow as people, not
Sure.
even just journalism,
Absolutely.
just outside, just in life in general. And so again, I'm one to like if an obstacle hits me in the face, I'm like, all right, let's take it on head first, and hope for the best.
Absolutely. I always tell my kids out here, or at least I should. Well, I'll say this. I always tell my kids that I used to cover full time for the high schools and the colleges, because they would always ask me questions like, how's it covering? How's journalism and how's this? And I said, it's great. I love doing what I do. And if you want to pursue this, then I would tell you two things. One, try everything.
Right.
Be a jack of all trades, right? Try everything, learn everything, learn as much as you can, because in this business, if the more that you can do, the more of an asset you can be.
Right.
I
Right.
always try to tell them that. But number two, you also figure out what lane you want to go into,
Hmm.
because everybody doesn't always want to do the same thing.
Right.
And that's
Right.
why I asked that question about producers, because there's some really great producers that really don't want to get in front of the camera. They will do everything they can to not get in front of the camera. But
Yeah.
they're great at directing and producing and running a show like you are. So I always tell kids to definitely try everything, which this is a great segue to a question because I want to talk about mental health and work-life balance. Now, you said you were married of 7 years. Congratulations on that. That's wonderful. But you've also are full-time in journalism. And being married, sometimes you do, if you don't have the same kind of schedule, it kind of goes crazy. Now,
Right.
like you talked about, you worked overnight, you worked all different kind of shifts. Talk about your mental health, being because you also have family, you have friends. You seem like a wonderful person to be around as a friend as well to hang out with. But you about your business as well, and it's tough sometimes being in journalism to really get that time off to kind of go do your thing. So, talk to me about how you keep your mental health strong, and also how do you provide that work life balance?
Absolutely. So I'm also a mom, so I have a toddler. Um,
Wow.
yes. Fun fact, he's 4 years old, and
Amen.
my yeah, my biggest, I will say I'm very fortunate to work for a company that really allows me to have that work-life balance. It's not, especially in the news industry, it's very fast paced, and you don't always get to have that work-life balance because you have to stay long for a breaking news event, or
Yep.
we're in election season, so it's like that's another part where it's going to take, when it comes to
Okay.
the November 5th, it's like there's going to be long hours involved. And, sometimes I've come home and, my son's already asleep. So I don't get to, tuck him into bed. But it's also what, for me, whenever have those situations where, again, I miss him going to bed. I don't get to see him the night. What I focus on is the times that I am with him and the times that I am present. And I make sure I'm 100% present. No phones. I will not answer, work emails, things like that. If I'm off the clock, I'm off the clock. And
Okay.
again, it's very like, I am very fortunate to have great managers who allow me to do that. Um,
Absolutely.
because that's also part of of having that work-life balance, is having the appropriate leadership that allows you to have that. Because there's some newsrooms where they're like, no, like this is a newsroom, like you have to be on 24/7.
It
Um,
is.
and so I will say, I am human, and there are times where, it's been too much. But one thing that I always, tell everybody, and I tell family, I tell friends, coworkers, whenever you feel that, like you feel like you're capped and you can't anymore, talk to somebody. Like that's the one thing you have to do, is you have to communicate. There's times where I've talked to my husband and I'm like, you know what, today I just need to, like, I need to not do anything. I need a rotting day where I don't do anything and I just focus on myself. And that's okay. Like that's one
It
thing I
is.
feel like, as in I think for women specifically, and working moms, I think a lot of times we don't allow ourselves to have that moment for us because we're so busy taking care of home, taking care of work, taking care of the kids, and we forget to care about ourselves. And I think that is huge. And that's one thing that happens where women, we start spiraling because we're trying to juggle all these things, and it's like, but at the end of the day, like we don't give ourselves the 5 minutes just to like breathe.
Right.
Because
Or have a moment. Just have a moment to
right,
yourself. Right.
right. If it's like, I invested in a walking pad because I was like, I just need like I don't, go out like I used to do. So it's like, go out and do my walks, but I have a walking pad, and it's something that makes me happy. So it's like just finding that little piece that makes you happy, whether it's like, I don't know, maybe because like for me too, going to McDonald's and buying a Diet Coke with extra ice, like that moment, that crispness makes me happy. And like it doesn't have to be anything extravagant. It
Right.
just whatever small, it can be small, it can be big, but as long as it's about you and you're taking care of yourself, and
Right.
that goes for men and women, right? Like it's
Sure.
not just,
Absolutely.
again, I'm just talking about specifically, women for working moms, but
Yeah.
again, for men too, it's like whatever that moment that, life is too short, and you need to really take care of yourself, because if you don't take care of yourself, then like that's not cool. And like you need to be able to survive, and you need to just be able to like live. And again, with everything that you see in the news, like, mental health is just so important. And I'm so glad that it's a conversation we have these days, because I know growing up, I had anxiety and I didn't even know what anxiety
You didn't
was.
even hear about it. Nobody talked
Right.
about it.
Right. And it's like, let's talk about that. Let's talk about ADHD. Let's talk about autism. Like, there's
Right.
things that we need to have conversations about because it was never talked about. And let's bring awareness to it. And just know that, we're not the only, like, everyone is going through that at some point of their lives. And that's
Sure.
okay. Like, let's normalize it. And so I think mental health, again, it's a huge topic that I'm so glad that so many people are talking about. And again, if you find yourself in a crisis situation, whether it's like you just need to you're feeling a certain way, just talk to somebody, because that can like open up doors for you. And it can also, like, don't be afraid to have a moment where you just cry. I mean, I've had so many of those moments where I'm just like, I tell my husband, I need 5 minutes. I need to cry. I need to let it out. And that is totally normal. I
Sure.
think sometimes, like, we hold it in because, like, we're like, no, we're strong, like, we're tough, but like, we're human. Like, we need to have these moments where we're in our feelings, and that, again, that's okay. We just have to really think about ourselves. We have to focus on our mental health. And again, if we're not okay, then our day-to-day is not going to be okay. And it's like, we always have to make sure, like, whether it's like you come home from work and you give yourself just a 10 minutes just to, like, just sit on the couch and just like close your eyes and just meditate, or whatever it is, you just need that moment, whether it's maybe journaling, giving yourself a gratitude journal. That's something I started doing, because I want to feel good about myself too. It's like, there's like, especially when you're in news, I mean, there can be so much negativity with like everything you hear on the news. There's like all these negative stories, and so it's like you want to make sure that you're bringing some positivity into your life. And I think one way to do that is by showing what you're grateful for. There's a podcast that I heard the other day, and it was talking about how, like, for journaling, when you have a gratitude journal, it should not be about the same thing every day, right?
No.
So it's like, you want to make sure that, like, it's what you're grateful for is different every day, because it just expands. And it also allows the universe to say, like, oh, this person is grateful for, let me bring more abundance to this person. And so that's one thing that I'm starting to do. Again, I just turned 35 yesterday, so I'm like on this whole wellness journey. Like, I bought multivitamins. I am like all about it. I am just like, I was like, this like, 35 is such a milestone. And what better way to give myself a birthday gift of, like, giving myself the gift of wellness, and mental health. And,
Sure.
again, I see a therapist. Like, well, let's normalize therapy. Like, these are things that, like, they was never talked about when our generation was growing up. So let's have the conversation so that people don't feel like it's a stigma. Because it's not. It's just like, we're human, we're feeling this, it's a feeling that we have.
Right.
And, let's talk about it.
I love that. First off, happy belated birthday. Second, you certainly don't look 35. So whatever you're doing, Candice, please continue to do it. Okay, just want to let you know. But I really wanted to touch up on a few things that you said before I get into the next question, because I really love what you said about mental health. First thing you touched up on was you see a therapist. I think people don't realize, and I really love your transparency. I appreciate that. People feel like sometimes when you say that we're going to a therapist or you're going to therapy, that's a sign of weakness. It really isn't. Sometimes you do need to have that other person to talk to outside of your friends and loved ones. Because your friend and loved ones sometimes tell you what you want to hear. And sometimes you need to go to somebody that tells you what you need to hear. And then, listen, not to say that friends and loved ones don't tell you what you need to hear, but it's different from an outside perspective.
Right.
When you're talking to somebody that don't know you as opposed to someone that does. You hear terms like burnout. You hear terms like overworked in our industry a lot, Candice, and that's
Yeah.
because when you talk about stations and not focusing on individuals' mental health, but focusing on the bottom line of the station and putting that as a priority over the mental health, people get burnt out and they get overworked. And we already know that this business does not pay you off the bat. It doesn't really pay much.
Right. Right.
So you have to kind of build up a little bit to be able to do that. But it's an important thing to ask about because the A side is what we just talked about. right? We talked about storytelling. We talked about telling stories. You talk about talking to people, being engaging. It's no better feeling that I've had than going to the grocery store or pumping gas and somebody read my story and really appreciate my story. And I'm sure they do that in the community out to you as well. But we also know there's a B side, and the B side is long hours. The B side is sometimes you have tough days. We all do. We all have tough days and all have adversity to deal with. The B side is sometimes you do have those days where you kind of need just 5 minutes. Like you said, driving to McDonald's for me it'd be a high C orange with extra ice, with Diet Coke for sure. I totally understand what you're talking about though. When you said that, some people probably look at you like, "What? That's funny." No, it's not. It's not funny. It's real. This is totally real because I've done that before, and you just need like 5 to 10 minutes to yourself to just kind of kind of just breathe and just take a moment to yourself because sometimes it can get overwhelming. And I'm not married. I don't have kids. So for you to do it, it's amazing. And I'm around the same age as you. So to be able to do that, I think obviously it's amazing that you can do that. I know you have a great support system. I know you don't do it alone, but even with you having to tack on all those responsibilities and do that and still do what you love, you need to be patted on your back and you need to be given your flowers for that because that's amazing still. Truly. But it once again, it leads into a great segue of a question. And that is, Candice, what if somebody approaches you, right? As far as a graduate or an intern or somebody that's older like us that wants to get into this industry, they want to do what you do. What kind of advice would you give them?
My first one would be never give up. And don't take no for an answer. Like I can't remember. I would, to be honest, like my goal and like when I started being a journalist was like I wanted to be in leadership. Like I wanted to be a leader. I wanted to be an example. I wanted to mentor folks. And so one thing I would say is again, never give up. This industry is everyone knows everyone. Another tidbit I would say is don't burn bridges. That's the
Yeah,
biggest thing. You always want to leave, even if you don't agree with your newsroom, even if you have, again, disagreements, leave on a professional note. Because you don't know down the line who they might be in a different newsroom that you need the hiring, that they're part of the hiring team, like things like
absolutely.
that. So again, don't burn bridges. And again, when you're in high school or even in high school, college, learn as much as you can. And you touched on it earlier. But it's like, yes, I mean, I personally, when I started out, I was so hungry. Like I wanted to be a writer. I wanted to be a producer. I started off I was a production assistant. So I was like moving cameras, kind of like the bottom of the totem pole, basically. And,
Absolutely.
but I was like, you know what? This is just a start. I just need a foot in the door. Like that's it. And again, I had some internships and all that, but this was my first like paying job that I was getting paid for. And
Right.
so I was like, you know what? I was like, but I took pride in it. And that's the thing about you have to take pride in what you do, no matter what it is. Because it's something that like it's gonna help you in the long run. It's gonna help you grow in the long run. And so when I was a production assistant, I remember I came in on my days off, like the weekends or whatnot, and I would shadow a producer. I'd be like, hey, do you mind like especially on the weekends when it was kind of like a skeleton crew on the weekend. I would be like, hey, do you mind if I come in on a Saturday? Just kind of like watch you, how you produce a newscast, how you write your scripts,
Absolutely.
things like that. And again, it was very different where I was like, I was hungry, like I wanted, to learn. So I wasn't getting
Absolutely.
paid to come in. It's difficult a lot with folks now, obviously, and I don't blame them. Like they want to get paid for their time.
Right.
But I was a different mindset. And that's just me. Like, again, that's not for everybody, but that worked for me.
Right.
And so again, I was coming in on weekends, learning how to write. And then I got the opportunity. One of my who like basically she's the reason where I am today. She saw something in me. She gave me the opportunity to be like, hey, do you want to be an associate producer? And I was like, sure. Like this, I was absolutely like, I this is what I want to do. And so she was the one that gave me the opportunity to it was at the same station that I was a production assistant in, but she gave me the opportunity to become full-time because I was only part-time as a production assistant. And this allowed me to be full-time and I loved it. Like I hit the ground running. I was in charge of like special projects, which is like, oh my gosh, this is a huge thing. It was like I was in charge of sweeps projects, which sweeps is like something for ratings. So it's a big deal for stations. And again, I loved it, and I was like, this is what I want to do. And then I was like, for me, I'm constantly wanting to be challenged, and that's even including challenging myself. And I was like, you know what? I want my whole show. Like, I want to produce my whole show. Because
Right.
in that role, I was kind of basically helping the producer. So I didn't really
Okay.
have the show.
Mhm.
And I was like, let me see if there's opportunities out there. So I actually went to a competing station. And I was able to I was the morning show producer. So again, that's where I started off at 6 a.m.
Mhm.
And I loved it. I love morning news. I mean, to this day, traffic and weather, my favorite things in the morning. Um,
Okay.
and yeah, so I really loved it. And then I was like, you know what? I want to learn more. And then again, this is where the contacts come in. And the networking, one of my friends who I used to work at one of the stations reached out to me, and she was like, hey, I used to intern at this TV station in Austin, and they're really investigative journalism heavy, and I know that's something that you love. They
Absolutely.
have an opportunity for a producer, an opening for a producer. Do you want to take the opportunity? And I was like, oh yeah. I was like, absolutely. So I was like, let me reach out. So I reached out, did the interview process, got the job. In that time frame, I was actually driving from San Antonio to Austin for like a whole year. I don't know how I did it. I was in my early 20s, so I think that's how it was.
I
Because
think
that's
that helped a lot for sure. Didn't have many responsibilities at that point.
yes, yeah. I was like, I don't know how I'm doing this, but I guess again, early 20s, I'm thriving, living my best life. Um,
Sure.
so
Sure.
I learned there, and then I became I would do I started as a weekend producer, and then they moved me to the noon show. So I
Right.
had the number one noon show when I was there. And it was such an incredible feeling because one, it's in a city that I'm not familiar with. Like I'm not from Austin. Like I only know Austin. The only thing I know from Austin is UT. And so it was really interesting to, be a part of that city. I eventually moved there, and I lived there for about 2 years afterwards. And then my contract, was up, and I was like, I had the choice of renewing it, or I could, come back to San Antonio. I was like, you know what, I'm gonna come back to San Antonio. I'm gonna, I miss it. And this is where my family is. So, I decided to come down to San Antonio again. And that's when I got the opportunity at my SA. And so all this to say is like, one, networking is so important. Two, when you show up every day, really show up. Like, don't give it your 100%. I know there's and this is why mental health is so important, because it can be really hard to give 100% when you don't give 100% to yourself. So making sure that you give yourself time first, and that way when you show up, you can actually show up because you're in the right mindset. And then like when you come home, like you're gonna give that 100% back to yourself.
Right.
And so it's just again that work-life balance, avoiding the burnout of it all. But if anyone, again, high school, college graduates listening, my biggest advice about the industry: don't give up, network, don't burn bridges, continue learning. Again, I'm in leadership and I'm constantly learning. I want to learn, because I want to make sure that I'm the best version of myself for my reporters, for my family, for my son. And so I can't do that if I don't take care of myself at the same time. Um,
Absolutely.
so being able to have that, know that burnout is real. Like you said, it's something it's constant in our industry. Again, I'm just really fortunate to work for a company that sees that and allows us to have, that really good work-life balance. But again, not every newsroom's like that. But I'm confident that newsrooms are going to start seeing that and seeing that they need to take, their employees' mental health into consideration, especially because this industry is tough. It's not for the faint of heart. Especially news. It can be, as we've seen in national headlines, it's not always, the greatest news that we see. And so being able to bring some positivity back, and that's why focusing on something that makes you happy, bringing that positivity back to you, is really important. And
Sure.
again, uh making sure that you're constantly learning, reading the competition, like that's one thing I tell my reporters is like when they're looking for like, that sometimes like we can become in these like creative like ruckuses where we're just like don't know what to write about. We don't know like what to anything like that. And so one thing I tell them is like read, like look around, look at competition, look at other publications, take
Sure,
ideas. Like
absolutely.
it's like I'm very one to like if you give me a story, I will craft it and like change it into a way that's like, have we thought about this angle? And so I
Into
think
your own.
right. And so it's always
Right.
something we can do is like find new ways to be innovative, to be creative, and don't be afraid to take risks.
Absolutely. All those things. I love that. Don't give up. Be persistent. Don't be afraid to take risk. Try everything. That's great advice. Again, this is the industry that is very fulfilling, but you also have to. I want to kind of add to that before I get to our next question, which would be this or that. Understand that some people love the glitz and glamour. They see people on TV or see people writing great articles and they read their stuff. There's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that goes on that people don't know about. This is also an industry where you're going to miss a lot of birthdays. You're going to miss a lot of celebrations. You're going to miss a lot of graduations. You're going to miss a lot of holidays with your family.
Yes.
I know I'm up here without any family. My dad's in New York. My mother's in Georgia, but I'm up here by myself doing my thing. Obviously, grown man stuff. I love it, but I'm not near any family to where if something were to go wrong, I would have
Right.
to literally take a flight out and be like that. I'm not in driving distance of my family, right? So I know for me personally, my next decision on where I do my journalism at is going to be either close to either my father or my mother, one of the two. And I'm sure that's part of the reason why you moved back to San Antonio because you want to be closer to your family as well. So
Right.
I tell young kids all the time, this is just an industry that's very fulfilling, it's very loving. If you have to be passionate though, when you spoke,
Right.
all I heard was passion through your voice because you're so passionate about what you're doing, and you have to be. Like you cannot half-ass this at all.
Yes.
You have to be able to do this with love and passion. So I love what you said, Candice, and that is another great segue to go to this or that, my interactive game that I
Nice.
normally do with my guests on the Work Hard, Play Harder podcast. What I do is I throw out a couple things and you just tell me whether it's this or that. Are you with me?
Let's do it.
Okay, here we go. The first question is going to see if we can remain friends, Candice. Okay, so here we go. Popeyes or KFC?
Oof. Popeyes.
Oh, that's my girl. That's my girl. I knew it. I knew it. I was like, Lord, I thought a cake was going to have to come out your mouth. Like, oh, no. Popeyes it is. Okay. We can remain friends. Let's move amicably forward. All right, here we go. Chicken wing flavors, barbecue or lemon pepper?
Oof. I'm a barbecue only because lemon pepper can be very dry, and I'm not the dry rub. I like the wet rub of it all.
Oh, yeah. I like it. I like it wet too when it comes to the wings now. Now,
Hmm.
do you like your wings bone in or boneless?
So if they're bone in, it needs to be all flats. If they're boneless, I mean like boneless. But if they're bones, it has to be the all flats.
Okay, okay. Now something tells me that because I'm also this flavor too. My third flavor, if it wasn't barbecue or lemon pepper, it would be buffalo. Do you like
Oh yeah,
buffalo?
the
Okay,
OG. Yeah, OG for sure.
got you. I'm with you on that. The buffalo is definitely amazing, no question. Okay, these next four questions have to do with music concerts you rather attend. So here we go. Okay, which music concert would you rather attend? Would you rather go see Brandy or Monica?
Ooh, we're going the boys' mine. Like
Mm,
so
mm-hmm.
I am Team Brandy for sure.
Okay, okay. I like that. I like that. Now listen, both of them are great, but I'm Team Brandy as well. All right, here we go. Next question. Which concert would you rather see in person? Now you in Texas, so would you rather see Casey Musgraves or Carrie Underwood?
Oh, I'm a Carrie Underwood girl. Like when she was on American
Ooh.
Idol, that's where I first saw her.
Okay, okay. I like that. I like that. Okay, here's this next concert. Which concert would you rather attend in person? Would you rather see Kendrick Lamar or Drake?
Oh, Kendrick. Like, full
Girl,
stop.
we're gonna be besties. I ain't never called nobody a bestie on here. I'm trying to tell you that, but you 3 for
I am
3.
waiting for that Super Bowl performance. Like,
Okay. Candice, you on fire right now. You buffalo sauce right now. That's what we calling you. You on fire. Okay. Now, here's the last music one. This is gonna prove it. Last music one that I want to ask you. Which group would you rather see in person? Would you rather see Boys the Men or New Edition?
oh, Boys to Men.
Okay. I
Boyz II
like that.
Men.
I like that. All right. Now, that's the first one we disagreed on because I would say New Edition. But that's okay. We can't have them all.
Okay.
He was 3 for 4. I like that. Now, which sport would you rather play? Bowling or badminton?
Bowling. It's like you knew me. Like,
Okay. Now, are you a good bowler?
so I actually come from a family of bowlers. Very yeah, very random. It's giving kingpin. But yeah, so my brother actually has bowled, I want to say like three or three or four 300s already. He has a jacket, he has a ring, he has a watch. Yeah. I was in a bowling league when I was a kid. I was in Yaba. So I had I had a bowling coach. I
Wow.
don't. I mean, I play now. I play for fun, obviously, but I'm not in tournaments or anything like that. But I used to be in
Yeah.
tournaments growing up. Like my brother was part of a traveling league. We would travel for his bowling tournaments. I had a coach. And yeah, it was a whole thing. One year, my mom, my brother, and me, we were in a bowling league, and we were called the Hot Dogs, and we won first place. I'm very proud of that. But
That's cute. I like that. The hot dog. That's what's up. Shout out to your brother for bowling perfect games. It's very hard to do. And Candace, one of these days we might have to test that theory. We might have to test that theory of you bowling.
yes.
I gotta see about that. I do. I gotta see about it. Okay. Now here we go. Here's the next question. Which sport would you rather watch on TV? Basketball or baseball?
Basketball. I can't like baseball is just too slow for me. I can't really get into it. Yeah.
I like that. I'm a basketball player, so you ain't
Yeah.
got to smooth talk me. Basketball it is, no question. Okay. Now, do you like desserts?
Kinda. I'm not, I mean, I cheesecake is my thing. I love cheesecake.
Okay. Okay. So here's my thing. What I normally do, I throw out 4 different desserts. One of these desserts you're gonna have to get rid of, and you can never eat again. Okay. So here we go. The first one is cake. So that's cheesecake or Duncan Hines, Betty Crocker, whatever cake you want. The second one is candy. The third one is ice cream. The last one is cookies. Which one are you getting rid of that you will never eat again?
I think ice cream. I don't know. I'm just not an ice cream girly. Like I love cake. I love candy. I love like the nerds, but the ones that have like the little clusters, those are
Mm-hmm.
amazing.
Okay.
Yeah, I can like eat a whole bag of those. But yeah, I'm not an ice cream girly. Like I mean I'll eat it, but it's like I can totally live without it. So if there was like an option that I didn't have to eat anymore, that would be it.
If you would have asked me about 5 years ago this question, I probably would have said I can't live without ice cream.
Yeah.
Now that I'm like in my mid 30s now, I'm like thinking about ice cream, and I really haven't ate much ice cream
Yeah.
lately, so I can it kind of dive off. Like I'm a fruity kind of candy person, so the
Yeah.
lifesaver gummies, if you know about those,
Oh yeah.
those are my favorite. Those are my
Yeah.
favorite. So I can't get rid of those. I'd rather get rid of ice cream all day long.
Yeah,
Okay,
for sure.
are you a potato chip person?
Oh yeah. Love potato chips.
Okay, so same format. Okay, throw out 4 brands. You got to get rid of one of them. Okay, so here we go. And mind you, one of the brands isn't Cheetos, so Cheetos is not on here. Okay, but I know you probably a hot Cheeto type person.
Yep.
I
Got
knew it.
the red
That's why
fingers.
we not even gonna ask that because I knew what it was. So here we go. First tip is Ruffles.
Okay.
Second tip is Doritos. Third chip is Lay's. The last chip is Pringles. Which one are you getting rid of?
I can probably get rid of Ruffles. Like, cause I
Oh,
feel like
oh,
the lay The Lay's are like just just the texture. And then the Pringles, same thing. So it's like you're still getting that potato chippy thing. But I love Doritos. Like I could never get rid of Doritos. Like I love Cool Ranch. I love like the spicy, the nacho cheese. Like love Doritos. Like Doritos is life.
I mean, listen, Candice, you get no argument with me on Doritos, but Ruffles is the only chip out of the four that you can dip into something. Like the ridges on the Ruffles, you can actually like dip it into buffalo chicken dip. Sour cream and cheddar is the best chip ever made. There is no chip better than sour cream and cheddar Ruffles. Try to debate that. Try to debate it. I'm trying to. I'm trying. Listen, I'm throwing it out there. I know you said Doritos, spicy nachos, and Cool Ranch nacho cheese. All of them are good. All of them are good. You get no debate from me. But the best chip ever made is Ruffles sour cream and cheddar. It just don't get no better. I'm trying to tell you. But yes, I wanted to ask you that for sure. You did great on this or that. I appreciate you answering that. And you was very honest and truthful and upfront. So I love that about you. Thank you so much. Now, this next question I ask all reporters. If you wasn't doing journalism, if journalism wasn't your field of choice, what field of choice would you have pursued and why?
I would have loved to be, well, I have two fields I would love to be in. So the first
Okay.
one is actually what I started my major in, which was fashion merchandising. Yeah, I wanted to be a fashion designer, specifically for petite girls because I am 4'8", so I'm very little. Yes.
Oh, I don't think I met anybody that's okay. That's
Yes.
wonderful though. That's awesome. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yes, I'm very petite, so it's always hard to like find clothes for me. I mean, I can find some in like the women's, but I have to
Okay.
get it tailored or anything like that. So like a lot of clothes that I look for is like kids' clothes, but like they don't look like kids' clothes because that's like a weird thing. And I'm like, I don't like if I mean I have a son, so it's like if I had a daughter, we'd probably like be matching. But it's like so it's like, yeah, I was like, I don't want to be wearing kids' clothes my entire life. Can you imagine me at 70 wearing like Target kids' clothes? Like, we need to we need to calm
Well,
down.
well,
Uh,
for shoes though, shoes might work for you because if you
yeah,
wear
yeah. Well,
sneakers,
no, see, what's crazy though is like the shoes I can wear adult sizes because I'm like a size like 5'5.5". So I can wear like the adults of it all. But the kids, I have a little hack. Kids like sneakers, I
yeah,
can actually fit into those and they're cheaper. So it's like a super
right,
good hack for me. Yeah.
right.
Especially like Converse and like Nikes and stuff like that. Like if I can wear like a size like 3 or 4 in kids and like it's
Yep,
perfect.
yep.
Um, but yeah, so like I said, I wanted to be a fashion merchandise. When I worked in fashion merchandising, I wanted to design clothes for people like me, that are full-grown adults but look like children. And so I was like, that's something that, again I wanted to do. But then I was like, because I loved Barbies. Like I was, I loved playing with Barbies and like dressing her up in like different outfits. And I'm like, well, you know what? I want to draw these outfits. And again, as a journalist, as a writer, you're creative, so you're just automatically like your imagination is just like out
Yeah,
there trying different things. Your imagination, you're just running with it. So that was one avenue that I wanted to take. The other one was actually I wanted to be a film director. So I wanted to do like Hollywood style movies, but be a female director. I was
I
really
can see that.
inspired by, yeah, I was really inspired by James Cameron's wife, who directed The Hurt Locker. It was around
Oh,
the time that I was like, yes, like women empowerment. Like I want to be, because it was, as we all know, like the movie industry at the time was dominated a lot by men. And
sure.
like, you know what, I want to change the way things are, seen. And so it's like I want to be one of the first, one of the very few female directors out there. And so, but then I was like, well, I have student loans and I have to pay those back. So I have to get a job. So it's like, maybe we can't take the film directing route right now. But
Right.
I do, we saw me and my husband were watching the Emmys this weekend. And I was like, you know what? Why don't I just write a pilot like for a show? Like, who knows? Like, I don't know. Maybe it's just like one day I'm just like typing away and just deciding to, again, self-care.
You never know. You never know.
Happy.
Why not?
Right, right.
Why not?
Self-care is something that makes you happy. I love writing. Let me do something that's like not work related, but it's writing that I love
Right.
and I can be creative. So who knows? It's something that I've been really considering. So maybe down the line you might see a Netflix show directed by me.
I wouldn't mind watching that at all because I definitely have Netflix. And listen, I don't mean to smirk when you say you're 4'8", but it's rare for me to find somebody that I'm a foot taller than because I'm pretty short for a guy. I'm only 5'11", so so I'm not that tall for a guy. So to have somebody a foot taller, that makes me smile. That's amazing. So that's
Well,
awesome.
my friends tell me, well, your personality makes up for it because I have a big personality. So it's like I was like, you can't even tell. Like even my therapist, because like my therapist and we meet over like Zoom, and I was telling her my height, and she was like, I would never guess because your personality, and I was like, yeah,
Right,
I think it makes
right.
up for it.
I was definitely thinking you about maybe 5'5", 5'5". Yeah. Then listen, maybe with your personality, it is that because you seem like a pretty dope person. Like I said, I wouldn't mind being around you, sharing a drink with you for sure at the bar watching the game. That'd be amazing. So this next question that I have for you, well, actually, before I even get to the next question, what I would do if I wasn't in journalism, I would be in theater for sure.
Nice.
I love plays. I love
Yeah.
music. So I would love to be in theater, being somebody, because I'm Chris every single day. So to act like
Yes.
somebody else or be somebody else or do something else would be amazing for me. So I would love
Yeah.
that.
So if
Totally
I
love it.
direct that Netflix show, I already got my actor.
Yeah, you already do. You already do. Just give me a call, text, Uber, Skype, however you want to do it. It don't matter. You can just hit me up for sure, and I'll be right there. There's no doubt. But yeah, that's what I would be. Advice. Now we talked about advice you would give someone,
Yeah.
right? But what is some advice that someone has gave you that you hold on dearly to?
Oh, that's a great question. And I actually do have an answer for that. My professor, I'm trying to remember what he taught, but it was one of my communications professors, and he told me persistence is the key to success, and I have never forgotten that. I think it hits right on the target. Um, Again, like kind of goes back to the never giving up. I had a vision and I followed it, and that vision is never complete because I want more and continue to grow and all that stuff. But yeah, I mean that's one of my biggest things that he told me that I've never forgotten, and I always like I joke around and with my husband and I'm like persistence is the key to success. And because it's true, like that's one thing, like if you have a vision, if you have a goal, if you have a dream, don't give up. I mean, obstacles are there. They're not there to keep you from your dreams, they're there to see how bad you want them.
Hmm.
And that's something that there was this it was like a YouTube video that I had seen. It was about this professor, and it's called The Last Lecture. And I can't remember the professor's name, but he unfortunately died of cancer. And
Right,
this lecture was focused, or it was intended for for his children to see it, when, because obviously they weren't going to see their dad growing up, so he wanted
right.
to give this lecture for them. But it was an entire lecture that he gave his class, and it was filmed on YouTube. And anyways, and so one thing that he said in there that also resonates. I mean, obviously he didn't direct it at me, but I listened to it, and it was the talk about the obstacles and how obstacles aren't, again, they're not there to keep you from your dreams. They're there to see how hard you want them,
I
how
like
hard
that.
you will overcome those obstacles.
I like that.
I think that's something that's so beautiful because it's like life is always going to give us obstacles. Like that's one thing we can count on. There's always going to be something there in our way, trying to hold us back. But the only person holding us back from where we want to be is ourselves.
Right.
And that's something we have to constantly remember because it, again, within any industry, um, it's competitive fields. And so we have to remember that as long as going back to mental health, take care of ourselves, remember that where we started and where we are now, and be grateful for those moments. Another thing that I really pride myself on is I don't forget where I came from, and that's one thing that has helped me too, because I know that sometimes people, like, it can get to their heads and all that stuff, and just creates like this person that you don't want to be. And if
Right.
I'm creating the best version of myself, I want to make sure that I am proud of who I am. And again, I grew up low income. Like am proud of it because I overcame obstacles in life that, maybe they, again, as a 5, 6 year old kid, you don't know what, what having like you don't have not having money means, right? Like, because you're a kid, you don't know. Um, it's not when you're adult you're like, oh my gosh, like I can't believe, like, like I had such a rough upbringing, in the sense of, like, again, we didn't have the luxuries that some of my classmates had, because I also went to private school. My parents, like, put me, I don't know how they did it, but they put me to private school. But because it was a one income family. Only my dad was working, my mom was a stay-at-home mom.
Okay.
And my dad was making the minimum wage of it all, but somehow they managed to get me through private school for 9 years. And, I'm eternally grateful for them because it taught me so much. But also it just taught me the power of, like, providing for your family and making sure, like, at the end of the day, what matters is your children. And so that's something that I pride in for myself. And again, I don't forget where I came from, because, if how can I be an example for my son if I'm like, oh no, like it was so easy for me. I just got a job and I graduated college, and but it's like, no, like, this was my childhood. This is who I was. This is what I saw. And, that taught me where I wanted to do more for myself. I wanted to have, provide more for my family. And, and we're also living in a different time. Like, economics are so different from where they were, back then, where you could live off a single person's salary, for a family
Right.
of four, where now it's impossible. Um, and so just really, just showing, being the role model that I can for my son, being the role model that I can for other people as well. And that's something that I really enjoy it. I really enjoy being a mentor to others. I haven't had as many opportunities as I wanted. It's because I haven't really put myself out there to, like, speak to students, go back to my alma mater and talk to students there of, like, what it's like being in this industry. That's something that I want to do for myself this year too, because it's like I want to be able to share the knowledge that I have with others, because you don't know what that knowledge can spark in someone else. Um,
Absolutely. Paying it forward is what you're talking
yeah,
about. No question.
yeah,
No question. I love that. I really do. And that's a terrific answer. And uh, I want to make sure I got that quote right. Quote right. Sorry.
yes,
Persistence is the key of life, is what you said,
is the
right?
key to success.
The key to success.
Yes.
Okay, persistence is the key to success, and it is.
Mhm.
Anything that you want bad enough, you're going to work hard for it to get it. We all know that. I love the fact that you said obstacles are not there to withhold you; they're there to see how hard you really want to get to what you want.
Yeah. Mhm.
And that's amazing because, to be honest with you, I never looked at obstacles like that, and I'm probably going to start looking at them like that. I just always figured in my mind that if you're determined enough, no matter what, no matter how long the journey is, whether it's short or long, everybody's journey is different. Don't look at what the next man or woman is doing. Focus on what you're doing because your journey is your own. And I love that. I love that advice that you gave right there. This has been a pretty cool ass conversation, Candice. You've been absolutely amazing. I've learned quite a bit about you and your San Antonio roots. Uh, I will get you out of here on this question, and that is there anything else that you would like to add about yourself, about anything before we conclude?
Yeah, I think it just kind of goes back to that. Take care of yourself, talk to people. At the end of the day, you always want to make sure that you're creating the best version of yourself. Love yourself, like that's one thing we forget to do, is love
Absolutely.
ourselves. My thing, one thing I pride myself is, like, you can't love someone else when you don't love who you are. And
Hello.
it's a really big thing, that I learned in therapy too. And so it's like, and it's okay, like we're human, we're gonna make mistakes. Again, life is gonna throw us all these curveballs, and that's okay. Like, all those curveballs are there for a reason. Everything happens for a reason. There's a reason why you meet people in your life. There's a reason why I'm on this podcast today. I won't know it right now, but maybe, down the line I will. And that's the beauty of life too, life is, yes, life can be, like, detrimental sometimes and can be crazy and all that stuff, but also life is beautiful. And you know, taking those moments to just like be one and just understand, like be present in the moment, is absolutely what we need. And again, it goes back to the mental health, taking care of ourselves, putting ourselves first, even if it's for 5 minutes, getting that Diet Coke at McDonald's, getting Taco Bell, um, just a moment to just, you know, be grateful for where you are, for who you are, and be grateful for what you have.
I couldn't have said it better. I really, really do appreciate your time, Candice. You're obviously a wonderful leader, mother, wife, daughter, person, friend. Anybody that knows you would say the same thing of you. And I wish you nothing but the best of success out there in San Antonio. Again, when I do touch down, I will certainly have to hit you up. So please stay in touch with me. And you have a wonderful Tuesday night and the rest of your week. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Take care now.
All right. Bye-bye.